what do you have?
It's pretty much in my head too. I mean, I'm looking at the outline.
Oh no!
Oh,
We
don't
only
panic.
wrote stuff down because Stittler made us.
Why am I the only one who wrote notes? Like, I have
Because
almost 4
you
pages of
are
notes.
an extremely organized person, and we all respect you for that.
Extremely
Okay.
obsessed.
Thank you for that.
Oh,
Sarah. I
fucking
appreciate
hell.
I don't know about the all part, but some of us
Did you
respect
guys
for
see
that.
that Potato and Sasha parody?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
The one I posted in comments earlier?
I saw it as like
yeah.
a post.
But that's
Yeah, it's right at the top of the Reddit right now. The guy just totally ripped me
I'm
off.
starting to feel sorry for Sasha,
Well, I mean-
someone who's just like she's now defined by that one joke. Potato girl, that's all she is. She's just potato girl. I mean, I liked it when she was given more character in the next arc before around the time when the Walrose broke down. It didn't break down, sorry. No, but the Titans just appeared in Walrose. And then she got to save the kid from the Titan. That was really cool.
Well, I mean, before
damn it.
the joke ever really took off, I like that in the manga they had the scene during training where someone had called her that, someone had mentioned it, and she was like, "Why are you guys still making that joke? Why is that not too old yet?" and that was before it ever got popular with the readers even. So now it's like super overplayed.
The joke will never die. All right, guys, we are live.
God damn it.
We are live,
Hooray.
and we are coming to you live from various locations around the country.
Seriously, we are all over the map. I've just found that out. We're at least all in the U.S. anyway. Like, that's pretty much the only thing we have in common.
Yep.
Well, Oklahoma, Texas, New Jersey, and Washington, right?
I think so.
Who's from Oklahoma?
Stiller?
I thought you were.
No, I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm from Illinois.
Okay, yeah, Illinois.
Close enough.
Well, one of those tornado states.
Oh, that's tornado.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a tornado in person. Thank you very much. Giving me shit about being in Tornado Valley when I'm not even near it.
Let's be more adventurous then. Go
Be
storm
more
chasing.
adventurous. Let's go walk out in the middle of an active tornado. That's
I
adventure.
would. No
No,
tornadoes.
you
no
wouldn't.
You
Jersey.
fucking liar.
Okay, y'all. So
You don't know me.
welcome, listeners, to listening to us basically say whatever we want, and we just are going to start
Welcome to the
straight into
format.
discussion. We're going to start straight into discussion of chapter 55 because the disclaimer is we're assuming that everyone who's listening to this has definitely read the chapter. We don't need to recap it. So first impressions, good or bad chapter. I loved it. I really love this chapter personally. But before we go into exactly why, I kind of want to know what you guys think.
I liked it a lot. I definitely am not as enthused as you are about it, Sarah, but I think it was good. I think its strengths was that it kind of progressed the plot forward a little bit, with like now we know more about the plan and how it's developed and how it's changed since like last chapter, how we thought it was going to be like an all-out brawl, pretty much just going to storm over the walls and take over that way. But then we learned, more into the chapter, that's not the case. In fact, Erwin, which I don't know if you guys want to go into right now, but I don't think it's realistic as planned that he's going to
Well, right now we just need to gather impressions.
All right. So my impression, I liked it. I think it was good. I want them to get more into actually enacting the plan now. I think there's been enough chapters now of just planning out what they're going to do, but I think it was a good chapter overall.
I just like to point out that they are absolutely doing that next chapter because at the end it said, next time, war, something like that.
Yeah.
Next time, shit's in place and shit's gonna happen. It's gonna
Yeah.
hit the fan.
Hopefully
in the
people
next
die.
chapter.
No!
So Zach, what was your impressions of this chapter?
At first I thought it was kind of bland. It wasn't the action-packed stuff I was hoping for. But then I realized this is an amazing chapter just because of how many questions and theories we had confirmed, shot down, answered. It was just amazing for information. So I'm fine with the lack of 3D maneuver gear.
Yeah, I'm kind of a mix between the two because, there were a lot of confirmed or denied things that came out of this chapter, and I actually did a little theory crafting of my own to use later, but this wasn't the greatest chapter, but I was kind of in the middle of the road because there were some things about how the plot progressed in this chapter that I really didn't like, and they implied some things that I really didn't like, but on the other hand, having some of those questions a little bit narrowed in on, making it easier for us to try and, pinpoint a little bit more about what's going on was nice. Some of the dialogue was also very nice, and I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the direction it's going, but if we're moving forward more thematically as opposed to what's actually being stated, I will be happy.
Yeah, well, even with obviously the barrier of the language, how it needs to be translated for us to understand. Even with the translation, making the dialogue basically sometimes it's a little weird, especially with the first translations. But I'm talking about the translation from Crunchyroll. That one's actually pretty good, and it is just so good. I really love the dialogue in this chapter. I really like how it really contributes to the storytelling. The storytelling is absolutely eloquent. And I have a moment in the chapter that I think, is is a perfect example of it. It's my favorite moment, actually. It's when the squad Levi is all sitting around the table, and Armin is talking to all of them. He's giving his thoughts, and everyone actually listens to Armin, so he's the one who gets to talk the most. And he says, "We're not good people anymore." And the shot is really beautiful because we get to see all of them at the table, and it's really darkly lit, and the speech bubble is like right in the middle. They're very, very prominent. And then the next panel is Levi punching Sanis in the face twice. Very brutal. And I'm like, oh, that's like a period. That is like the perfect period on the end of a sentence. It's just so perfect. So that's partly why I really love the chapter.
And that relates back to a point Sanis made later on in the chapter, where he said, like, go ahead, to Hanji, like, justify beating me up and torturing me any way you like. That's what I did when I would torture people and kill them to suppress, people who would talk against the government and try to bring about new technology. I would silence them and kill them, and I was doing horrible things, but I was guising it in the disguise of, like, oh, I'm doing this for the sake of keeping the peace. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what Hanji's doing in the same sense. She is torturing him for the sake of keeping the peace. And he's like, go ahead, do it. Cover your bad deeds or whatever you want. But whatever you cover with, just know that it is still a bad deed what you're doing.
I want to take a step back real quick since Sarah had mentioned the translations. This chapter we went off of the Crunchyroll translations, but normally we would have used the subreddit group's translations, the Better Than Nothing Speed Scan group. For whatever reason, it wasn't available this time, but normally, we would endorse using those because those are usually pretty good quality too.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, that brings up another interesting point, completely unrelated, but when you brought up the topic of Eren eating his father, what came up in this chapter, and actually, I forget, I can't quote exactly who in the subreddit said this, but they showed in the picture how Erwin's father was one of the people killed. Obviously it was suspected by Erwin and confirmed when we saw in the next panel that it was Sanis, I think, exactly him who was torturing Erwin's father for, to suppress the knowledge. And I was thinking, and someone else brought this up in the subreddit, that maybe Grisha wasn't eaten by Eren. Maybe Grisha was killed by the Central Police to keep down whatever he was talking
that is a really good theory.
Yeah, that was a thought I had as well. Yeah.
Basically everything Sanis said opened the door, just kicked the hell out of the door wide open for new theory crafting ideas and new concepts about some of these questions we've been pondering for the last couple months.
Everybody wants to believe that the couple that was flying off in the balloon is Armin's parents. I think
Wait, what?
Yeah, everybody wants to think that, even though it's by far and large not confirmed. They just said they're just a couple that tried to fly off. And I'm like,
that is
well,
I never even considered
seriously? Because I was looking into it and looking into the comments on, I think it was the comments for the first thread, the chapter 55 thread that has the Manga Panda translation. But the comments in there all over, they're like, oh my gosh, Armin's parents, they tried to fly off in the balloon. I'm like, wait, I don't think so. Or maybe
have we ever seen Armin's parents?
No, they've never shown them.
I don't think so.
How can we say one way or another whether these people are his parents? We can't judge them on looks.
I'm looking right now, and the mom is definitely blonde, but you can't tell anything, basically.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a strange connection to me.
People are just guessing because it shows Historia's mom getting killed.
It shows people alive, and we want to hope that they're alive.
It shows... No, it's confirmed that that Armin's parents are dead. It shows what I guess is Erwin's father being tortured. That was one of my questions. If that was actually supposed to be him.
It is absolutely supposed to be him because it looks like him, and it says it was a teacher who knew too much for his own good, and so it's like, oh, ugh, poor guy.
So I guess people are just trying to make connections that these are always people that we've already seen. So I guess they're trying to say, yes, these are Armin's parents. It's a couple. They're going outside the walls. It's them. But then that brings up the question of who's the gun maker.
Yeah, I think that was one of our questions for this podcast. Who do you think the gun maker is?
Well, do you want to answer now, or do you want to wait for the question segment to actually address that?
Well, since we've
because there's still a lot of stuff to address.
It's been brought up now. Why not do it now?
Okay.
I don't know. I wish I had a theory.
Just a random old.
Yeah, just a random.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say that not every single character introduced has like significant importance to the story. I mean, and I don't think, since we haven't seen that guy yet, there's no reason to assume that he has any significant importance.
I agree.
I think that,
except as an example of police censorship.
Not just that, but an example of someone trying to improve technology and then being killed for it, which is what is supposed to provoke Hanji's very, very saddened, thank you for, preventing humanity from moving forward technologically. Thank you very much. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
the most not like him.
You protected this world from technological advancement. Yes. Really. Thanks
a lot. I love
that
line. That was such a great sarcastic
line.
That was great. Good job, Hanji. It's one of the better lines she's had in a while, I think.
Well, I have to clap.
Another reason I really like this chapter is because of the great character development. Well, not great, as in, this is all about the character development. But first of all, there was good character development for Erwin. We actually get to see part of his backstory. That was awesome. And then I got to see a side of Hanji that I didn't expect. We knew that she was going to be part of the interrogation. I didn't think that she would take the forefront and be the crazy cop, be the person who's all like, I'm going to totally rip out your teeth and rip out your nails. I'm going to totally be a psycho about it.
I kind of did. I kind of expected that.
She's been that character, though.
Yeah, that's part of why I love her. She's a mad scientist. She's insane. The thing is that Sanas is the one that tortured and killed her friend Nick, so she is definitely way more emotionally invested in this than Levi is. Although Levi can't become much emotionally invested in anything.
Yeah.
She's always been the crazy one to throw herself out there like that.
Yeah.
Like baiting Titans to attack her, or, going up to the female Titan and being like, I'm gonna devour you, bitch. Or
that was Levi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, that was the Hanji. Hanji did that when the female Titan was caught in a trap in Stohas.
In Stohas.
But there was also the point where she slammed herself up against the bars of Aaron's cell.
Her first appearance.
Yeah, her first appearance when she was introduced. She was introduced as that kind of crazy person. So I definitely think how she was portrayed in this chapter was definitely to her character.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it animated. They're going to give her that insane glint in her eyes.
People were saying that they don't think the torture is going to be in the anime.
It is.
Really?
This is a crucial part. This is going to be in the anime.
This is so much happened because of this torture. So many doors were opened about information because of that torture scene. They can't get around not putting.
Not without completely diverging the story.
Oh no!
They would have to create a totally different circumstance. They would have to introduce a totally new situation to try and introduce the same information.
Yeah, they'd probably have to go have them search Sana, just kill Sanas outright, search his house, and find papers with all this information or something.
That would be
bullshit, and
that would
this will be animated.
I don't think people were assuming that they would completely cut out the torture scene. I think what people were referring to was they would just reference that the torture was happening without directly showing it.
Yeah, they're going to censor it.
Yeah.
I don't think
still wouldn't be very good. You know what?
Yeah, it's still not as good.
I heard somewhere that this is supposed to be in Shonen Jump. This is not supposed to be it's supposed to be for a dynamic that's more younger. I'm just wait a minute. You do that and you suggested it could be in the Shonen Jump magazine, and then you get a scene like this. Well, it's always been dark, but now we actually have explicit torture, and I'm just whoa. Is it going to get any
Shonen
worse?
Jump, definitely. They've had dark stuff in Shonen Jump before, and this does fall under the umbrella of the shonen category. So it's not that far off of a stretch to say that this might, be something that you might find there.
Yeah. Might they censor this? A bit. I doubt the testicle line will make it into the anime.
Yeah, probably not.
I hope it does.
Yeah, it would be funny as hell if it did. But.
Yeah, but I definitely the dub did censor it, but I don't think that they'll remove this outright. They might remove a bit of the blood, maybe the part where Levi tweaks his nose for no reason, but
we call that tweaks.
this will probably be here.
A point that this could be considered a stretch, but I actually like it a lot, where people always reference alright, so the time travel theory is based on primarily the title of the first anime or chapter, To You in 2,000 Years, and on page 7 of this chapter, 2,000 years is specifically referenced to how long the monarchy has been in place, the reign. So I'm just thinking, like, that was that referenced exactly 2,000 years? That's a pretty big coincidence.
We can't trust that, though, because of the memory wipes.
Oh,
Above
yes.
all, the royal bloodline, said to have been unbroken for over 2,000 years, acts as the symbol of humanity's former prosperity. The thing is, that's not true. It's the Rice family who's been in control.
Also,
A thought I had is that possibly Grisha's generation is the first generation of the walls. They have not been in the walls for hundreds of years. They have been in the walls for possibly 20, if anything, because the memory wipes completely fuck up the timeline.
Yeah.
Well, this is Pixis that's saying this.
Yeah.
So.
But Pixis didn't know about the memory
What do you
wipes.
guys think
It would be
that?
weird to try and line that up with the Before the Fall side story that happened hundreds of years before this, though.
60 years before, 70 years before.
However long it was close enough.
I wanna know.
But I mean, trying to tie that together would be hard.
I want to know what you guys think of the theory that Erwin's father had, that the entirety of humanity has been, their memories have been altered.
Wasn't that basically confirmed, though?
It's like it's possible that their memories have been altered. I don't know why. It's because he says that they don't know anything about anything outside the walls, and it's that's impossible. So their memories must have been altered. I mean, and I think it's Stiller who really doesn't like the whole memory mind wiping kind of power sort of element that's in the story.
I don't, and I'm gonna fight this tooth and nail.
I don't think that. I mean, when I read that, and even now, I don't interpret what everyone is saying as literally mind wiped. Because the quote is, "Memories too are easily altered." So what I grabbed from that.
Where are you finding that quote?
That's on the
somewhere in there,
like page 15.
I'm on page 15 right now.
I remember seeing it.
But yeah, so if that's really the translation, that's changing a lot of my.
And this
my
is my translation.
I think it says 107.
107 is when humanity entered the walls. 2,000 years is how long the royal family has supposedly been in control.
Yeah, and it said 107 years
from
ago,
before the walls.
The people who escaped to these walls had their memories altered. So it was
yeah. The thing that was brought up is that the royal family was ruling before the walls.
So let me pick up where I think Scotty was going, because it sounded like he was on the train that I'm on, with fighting this bullshit mind wipe theory. Okay, there's a heavy implication here that the military police and the government and the royal families and all this are using fear and suppression techniques to make the public do and think what they want them to think. So when they say mind wipe, or when they say that they're under some sort of influence or some sort of control, I don't think they literally mean someone's like, we don't have a Professor Xavier running around, you know?
That's exactly what I think, still.
No, we've got a Geography running around.
I think we have a situation here where people are being ruled by fear, and that's what's making them not rebel and not go out and revolt that way. Like trying to make people not invest in new technologies is based on the fear that's put out there. Like the rumor of, like if you create an urban legend about like some sort of demon guy who's killing these inventors or these technology people, whatever. They're using some sort of fear tactic to make these people not revolt or investigate new ideas or ask questions about the outside of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, here's what the manga says. One day during his class, something happened that would determine the direction of my life. That day, we learned history, about what led humanity to be chased inside of these walls. It's something every child learns. There were no records left of any history before the day humanity escaped to the safety of the walls. The majority of humanity perished, and we were left with only a tiny bit of land. But we put an end to a time of constant conflict. He said that we'd gain an ideal world here inside these walls.
Etc., etc., etc.
Etc., etc. After we returned home, he answered my question. He said the history texts the royal government distributes were full of mysteries and contradictions. Even if no texts about the early mysteries existed, the generation that first entered the walls should have been able to teach history to their children. In fact, it would have been next to impossible to keep something completely quiet and say nothing about the outside world to the next generation.
Exactly.
That really doesn't take away from my point, though, because that's just...
Are you saying...
Even if they're not publicly talking about history, the grandparents are going to be sitting in their homes quietly telling their children what actually happened. No military police can control this.
They are, if they have people patrolling, actually actively listening for people saying shit like that, and they can go kick their doors in and kick the shit out of them.
But you can't if they're keeping quiet about it. So.
But it's not only that, though. It's that even if you're told at a very young age about how the world really is, if after that point every single influence in your life, from the military to your teachers to everybody, is telling you a different story, and they tell you this, right, your grandparents granted can tell you originally how it is, but then they go away. The military, your teachers, everyone in your life, they stay with you forever. And if all of them are trying to tell you something different, a falsehood, that falsehood gets more ingrained in your mind and gets more, put out there than the truth. So then over time, little by little, the truth is pushed out.
So what you're saying is that
that's actually a psychological concept.
So no matter what their grandparents or what the original generation might have said, and they would only have been able to say this in private, and they probably would have been discouraged in general, it's just like that truth just becomes more like bedtime stories, and the bedtime stories become less and less as, the generation dies and they can't say any of this, and then the truth is actually in the schools, is in the streets, is in, who knows, they might have had someone be given speeches very frequently, or some sort of prayer, or the Wallace, the church, they might have been giving sermons every several hours. It's just sermons about how everything began this way.
The thing is that before the fall of Wall Maria, the Wallace were just viewed as a crazy cult, and
when you add on that pressure, though, the pressure from the Wall cult, considering they had traction, they might have been considered crazy, but they had a considerable presence if they're getting invited to legal meetings and court cases.
But they weren't until after Wall Maria fell.
But still, they right now they're controlling information that's going out. And the pressure coming from the military police to stamp out all this rumors and, invest in trying to discover the truth, the amount of forces working against people trying to put that information out is too strong. It's like you can't. That's absolutely what has to be happening here. Is that they're controlling these people through fear and pressure and, I guess you would say, oppression. Because my thought was that Attack on Titan has never been a show to introduce something weird and random and magic like this. It's always been a show that has worked on themes.
Well, they introduced Titan shifters.
Yeah.
Has worked on metaphors. It's worked on themes and metaphors. And the themes and metaphors of fear and oppression and controlling people through these things, the fear of the corruption of the ruling bodies, makes much more sense than saying, oh, we introduced this character who will erase your memories if we don't like you.
Yet, the wording is there. Had their memories altered, so...
It might be there to misdeceive us. Like, if they introduced Geographia to try and fool us into thinking that they actually have mind wipe powers, I think they don't... this doesn't seem like a show that would take it that literally.
I highly doubt that Geographia is working with the government. I think that the government has people like her that they used when the walls were constructed in order to wipe the memories of the people. I think Geographia is an entirely separate entity that exists outside of any...
suffice to say, we don't have enough information.
Yeah, we don't have enough information.
Her and Monkey Trouble are the two dark horses right now.
Yeah, and the King. And the King.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the King, he's...
Slightly less, but still the King.
Well, I mean, he's the face of oppression right now in the show.
Speaking of the King...
He's the guy.
There's one question I had about him. It's implied a few times that there has only been one king the entire 107 years humanity has been inside the walls. But right now he doesn't look older than 50, if that. So, in a mistranslation, has he really been ruling that long and no one's noticing what the hell is wrong with this? Or...
Well, I mean, so few people get to see the king outside of nobles and politicians anyway that they wouldn't know one way or the other.
But it was implied, I believe it was by Pixis himself and by Sans.
My idea for that would be to go back to what I just said about using fear to control people. If you put out there to the public that your leader is a sort of immortal guy who has, great strength and great constitution and great,
and will never leave you and will always be there. They will always be there.
Kim Jong-un.
Are you really going to want to start a revolution against the guy who's portrayed to be immortal?
So what you're saying is he's almost like a shifter.
Yeah, that's a theory.
Not really.
That's a theory.
I'm not really implying that at all. I just think that they're like the king becomes a figurehead. Like, it's not the actual person, it's the title that they're using to instill fear in people.
Why is the Rice family being the secret? Why isn't it public that they're the royal bloodline? Or is that because...
Obviously, they don't want... they don't want anyone from the Rice family to go and take the throne, obviously.
Well,
it's like you create a lot of public upheaval if you put someone else on the throne that throws all the negotiations on all the deals they have in place out the window.
wait a minute, why is it the Rice...
They had the throne until the king took it.
But wait a minute, that's not in the history books, is it? I thought that the king was always there. So, like, what the heck? What happens? Why are the Rice family already on the throne? Why are they not on the throne and someone else is right now? Why is...
Mysterious business.
It was probably a coup d'etat sometime in the past.
Well, I think I kind of have. I mean, it's just my theory, but when it kind of goes back to like the concept in other books and other stories where if you're the person in power, then you are always watched. Every move you make has to be political. It has to be correct.
Mhm.
You know, it has to be just. But if you just put a figurehead who will do everything you want, when also you have the free will and the power because you're not in the public limelight, and now you can make all the shady deals you want and get all the power no matter what it looks like. Because if you're the king, you can't just say like, well, I'm just gonna, take everything I want and give nothing in return. Because if you do that, then it's gonna make you look shady and no one's gonna like you.
Yeah, you're gonna start a revolution.
Right. But if you're on the side and you're just a noble family who gets what they want, well, now you have more power in a sense.
So what you're saying is the Rice family is still in control?
Oh yeah, I think they're definitely in control.
But yeah,
they're just behind the scenes.
Krista, or Historia, is an unwanted factor.
Well, she's a bastard
She's
child.
a bastard child, so she wasn't supposed to be there. They killed her mother to erase any evidence.
They tried to kill her.
Yeah, but they didn't kill her.
Because Papa Rice convinced Sanas and the rest that she was not his daughter.
Yeah, they made the mistake of like trusting that she would never become anything. Like she would never grow up and be able to challenge the throne like she is now. They assumed like, oh, she'll go live in a gutter for the rest of her life or whatever, when she's actually coming back and she's actually, she's in the military, she's doing pretty well for herself, and she's got a branch of the military right now fighting to put her on the throne. So they fucked up.
Well, it's just what Simon said. He said that it was a mistake to even let the Survey Corps last as long as it did. It's like, oh, we just assumed you were going to kill yourselves because you're stupid. But no, it turns out you actually turned into a threat.
I'm actually curious, like, that line made me anxious for more developments in the Before the Fall side story. Because the newest chapter, Before the Fall, had them like reintroduced, like they implied that the Survey Corps was gone for a long time and they were remade by a new group.
Didn't their new chapter of Before the Fall just come out like a few days ago?
Yes, it did.
Okay, waiting for the translation then.
Someone on the subreddit had the translation for that.
No, I'll try to find it.
It wasn't actually listed by the Before the Fall. It was just.
Oh yeah, okay. You sent that to me. Damn,
actually, I'm gonna send you a link for that. Yeah.
Darn.
A question, and I brought this up in the very beginning of the podcast, but to bring it up again now, do you think that it's possible to have a revolution with no bloodshed like Erwin plans to do? I don't think. I don't think that's.
Wait a minute. He
possible.
said. He said that. I said that I was trying to have a revolution where no one died, but there will be bloodshed.
Well, I think he was referring to the torture.
Yeah,
scene.
he was. He was saying, yes, we're going to have to hurt people. We're trying not to have like mass death. We're not trying to turn like one faction into the target that has to be wiped out in order for the other one to come in and take over. Like Pixis said, is like that looks like that's what you could do because you're so capable. So you could just leap over the walls and take the king's head and take everything by force. It's like, well, that would have a lot of unwanted consequences. The best thing to do would be to try to do this peacefully. Is that even possible? And Erwin thinks it is.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, he thinks.
I think that
he thinks he could pull a political move by saying, "Let's have Historia take the throne." Apparently, that's a political move, and he thinks he can get the people behind. That's another thing. Armin. It goes to Armin, and he's talking about how they can get it to work for them by getting the people behind the two.
Oh God. Are we going to open this can of worms?
Armin?
I kind of want to open this can of worms. I kind of want to.
Go for it. I mean, we're here. This is it. Let's go. Let's go with it.
Okay. Armin has... Oh, God. I almost said something that Siller would have to edit out. Armin has gone full terrorist mode.
Oh.
But you still went there anyway.
I was about to say, I might still edit.
I didn't say as far as I was going to say, no.
But...
I was going to use a word that began with M.
I think that Armin's plan, although he says like, oh, just kidding, haha, crazy face.
Crazy face.
Oh my God. I still think that it was a pretty good plan. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think he was just kidding.
No, he
and
probably
the thing
wasn't.
is, I came up with that exact same plan as him while I was reading the chapter. Before it got to here, I was like, the people aren't going to be on the Survey Corps side yet. What they need to do is they have to have Eren tighten out, wreak some havoc, and then have the Survey Corps kill him and just pretend like it was a Titan that got in somehow. And then, yay, Survey Corps is the saviors. Military police did nothing. And then Armin says, hey, we need to get a Titan in the city and wreak havoc, and then we rescue everyone.
He just said we needed to cause an accident.
I think in the Manga Panda translation he said Titan.
I'm not sure, but Crunchyroll doesn't say that. And
yeah, so I'm on the page right now.
I really like how it takes a moment to show everyone looking at him like he's crazy. They're like, Armin, what the heck, man?
What the fuck, man?
You know what? Yeah. I had the same reaction.
And then Mikasa says she didn't raise him like that, which is weird.
I might be the negative Nancy on this because I actually really didn't like his plan at all. When he read his plan, when he spoke his plan off, I had the same reaction everybody else did because I was like, that's strange. When I was thinking about what plan he was trying to enact here, I thought of Pixis earlier in the chapter because what Pixis was trying to avoid with Erwin is sort of what Armin's suggesting, which is to try and cause an event to try and turn people without having a significant force or a significant sort of answer to the problem. It's like if you go out and if you create this event to try and turn people's heads, the military police are they're just gonna react in kind.
Well, hold on.
You're not gonna solve anything by causing an event just to boost your own reputation because the military police is just gonna go right after the opposite.
Although I agree with you,
that's as long as we're breaking the subject and bringing Pixis into it, is I really like this chapter for having Pixis talk so bluntly and basically look at all their options and just tell us what revolution is and what it really means and how many times has a revolution always come up and it looks like they're the people who have the answer and then they don't, or they just didn't think it through clearly enough. Anybody who starts a coup, they have to have the end goal in mind if they're going to have anything done, and if it gets too out of control, it's usually because they've lost sight of the cause. They've lost sight of what they really wanted to do. They just think, and now it's just.
I'm really glad that you brought that up.
It's just antagonists versus antagonists, and I can beat you, no, you can beat me. Oh shoot, everything's gone to hell. You know, everything's. Just
I'm glad that you brought that up.
We have an army. We have a Titan.
the way you presented that of them making a mistake like that, I said that I didn't like Armin's plan, and I'm glad that I didn't like Armin's plan. I'm glad that it's possible to interpret his plan as a bad idea, because Armin's plans have always been in the show the correct answer. He's always been the guy, that's always been his strongest suit. That's always what people identify him by. That's always been how he's presented. He's always the smart guy who always comes up with the correct plan. It's awesome to see a little bit of character development for him here, where he's presenting an idea that's not on par. That's not it's not to the level you would think it would be.
So he's not just the perfect genius.
Right. He's grounded as someone who has the capacity to make a mistake. He's not a super genius all the time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he's a human too.
At the same point, though, I would go back to Erwin's plan, and I would say I see a lot of holes in what he's trying to do also. Because let's carry out in a hypothetical here, Erwin's plan, and let's say they go and they gather, I guess, people up or whatever. They storm the capital. And they're just like, all right, so we have the successor to the throne here, Rice, someone no one has ever met, and then they're like, oh, well, what's her name to the throne? Why should she go? Oh, because the shadow government. She's the bastard child of the shadow government. And then what? So you're gonna give the entire people an education lesson, and so these people who have been manipulating everything behind the scenes, who have basically been horrible people. Well, guess what? That's the bastard child. So now let's let her be the throne. Hooray!
Yay!
No one who's on top of that. Who's going to be like, all right, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I think what you're saying is that we don't know how to make Historia Rice look good yet. We don't know how to make her the hero. Because she could be the queen, but she has to be a hero first.
We don't know how we're going to make this plan work.
People are going to have trouble suddenly accepting this
Absolutely.
semi-important family are actually the rulers, and then this semi-legitimate child is going to just take the throne when there are so many other living members of the Rice family.
What it sounds like is they're just going to walk into the court with her and say, hey, this is the new queen, fuck you guys. and they're going to be like, no? Who is this girl?
Exactly. And like they said, Pixis said the aristocrats in the forceful plan, they weren't going to accept that the new successor to the throne if you just went by force. But I don't think the aristocrats and the nobles are going to accept Historia either. They're going to be just as revolted.
So, at the very least, the regional aristocracy who control their lands wouldn't agree to be ruled by you. The gun-owning aristocracy and the remaining military police and pro-monarchy civilians would rise against you.
They did say, though, that the controllers or the aristocracy or all these political parties are going to do whatever it takes to keep the status quo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So trying to produce this is going to be bad for them because they're going to draw it out as long as possible and try and give the military police enough time to quell this.
It seems like that Erwin's best bet.
We know that their plan's not going to work.
Showing how bad the status quo is right now, not how good his status quo could be. Because we don't have enough. Well, obviously, we don't have enough to show how good it could be with Historia Rice on the throne or with him in charge. We just. That's how revolution starts. You start telling everybody, this is bad, and this is why. And then you have to figure out how to tell them, well, what I have is better.
Sarah,
we also need
your
proof
plan sounds a lot like Armin's plan. It does, if you think about it.
Terrorist, Sarah.
No, it's not bad.
No.
I'm just saying, everyone, Stiller might discredit Armin's plan, but I don't think Armin's plan is really that bad.
I don't either.
I feel like, if anything, Armin's plan is an expedited version of what would come out of Erwin's plan, because Erwin's plan was going to happen. Okay, so not immediate violence, but what's going to happen when you say, oh, Historia Rice, bastard child of the Rice family, now you're in charge. Well, now you're going to start a revolution against part of the people, civilians, who aren't going to accept this, because why would you want a shadow government's bastard child in power anyway? That doesn't seem like how will that directly help them. And now the aristocrats and the nobles are going to fight to keep their power. So now you've got a war nonetheless, even if you follow Erwin's plan to a T. Granted, we don't know exactly the nuances to his plan, but it seems like in the end, it's going to be the same as Armin's plan. Armin's plan, however, goes through it about it much quicker. So it seems like although they're different approaches, the end goal is resulted in the same.
Yeah, Historia Rice looks good and is the new queen. But that's the sad thing.
And looking fabulous.
Yeah, that's the sad thing is that we know how much of a hero she is. We know what everything with the Survey Corps has done for humanity, but it's all outside the wall, so they can't see and they can't relate and they don't know. And it just makes me so sad because of just like, you know what, they really need something to show off how awesome they are. And then I'm like, wait, that would kind of mean wrecking a bunch of shit up, like, inside the walls, and then you get collateral damage.
I'm all for that. Action is action.
I think the things that Scotty pointed out are the reasons neither plan is going to work. Is because we don't have the proof. We don't have the evidence. We don't have anything we need to make this work. Until we figure out that information, we can't make this work. And trying to go through with Armin's plan to create some sort of event to develop some sort of PR spin for the Survey Corps does not count as proof. Because the military police is going to react with their own negative spin on what they did anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, you can just, it's not hard to counter any sort of PR statement or whatever stunt the Survey Corps comes up with, because it's easy to discredit Armin's plan.
It is really easy to mess up the reputation of the Survey Corps too, because of how many times they've failed. It is just really easy to fail in their position.
The already in place bad reception they have.
Exactly. I think one thing that they could try to do is just force the king to make a public statement saying, okay, I've gotten tired of being the king. I'm going to hand this over to Historia Rice, who, guess what, is actually the legitimate heir to the throne.
Oh, I would die if that happened.
Oh, no.
Anyways,
probably.
I think
and then he turns into monkey trouble and runs away.
Yeah. I think another piece of the puzzle here that we don't know about is Historia herself. She's not entirely on humanity's side, as shown when she wanted to run away with Ymir and go to Reiner and Berthold's village instead.
I don't know if that's a sign that she's not a part of humanity, or it doesn't.
Ymir was her best friend.
She's more devoted to Ymir than she is to the Survey Corps, is my point. So the question is, what might she do with the power? Might she...
Oh yeah, could she be
I think
that's a good question.
The last couple of chapters we've had, I think we've seen a good bit from Historia where she's learned to grow from her experience with Ymir. She's taken the things she's learned from Ymir and she's accepted the fact that Ymir is gone.
Yeah.
I think even with Ymir as queen, or not Ymir as queen, with Historia as queen, she's not going to be queen. Erwin's going to be the one controlling her, really.
Oh.
I hope it doesn't go that route, but that's certainly possible because that would make sense thematically.
Probably.
So I think that it might be time to segue into the questions.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say.
I've got a couple more points here.
Before we do that, Stiller, shut up.
I've got like 2 pages of shit sitting right here.
We know.
I haven't even
we're
got
already
half
45 minutes into this thing, Stiller.
I've got stuff here, guys.
Before we segue in, I have one request of someone in the subreddit. I want you to go through the Crunchyroll translation and see how many times Pixis' name is mentioned, because I want to know how much Pixis I get to look forward to.
I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Oh, but we were... there was one thing I think we all wanted to talk about Hans' character, because he was interesting in this particular chapter.
Hans?
Hey,
Hans.
Stuff right here.
Hans.
His character. I did not see that.
I think I should get my own segment where I just rattle off all the shit I wrote down for this.
You should get that right now.
That's called an aberrant podcast. So.
If anybody has anything they want to say about Sans, just go ahead, get it out real quick, and then we can segue into questions.
Well,
I say he's gonna have a hard time eating from now on.
Coach!
Man, I've still got so much stuff I want to talk about, though.
You've got 2 more pages of notes, and we are 3/4 the way through our time Stiller.
What are the most interesting points, or the most important points you have still?
Most of them are thematically based. I wrote a bunch of notes on how things appeared to be portraying themes that we've seen before, or are making parallels to modern society, or are making... There were a couple points I had about Annie. There was some Annie parallels I saw between her and Sanus. I had
other than having a weird nose.
I had now thanks to Levi, yeah.
Hanji broke it, then Levi tweaked it.
And I had my own little theory crafting section here where I came up with a theory for what RBA's village motivation is.
You know, I'm
interested.
I have my own theory on that, but I've been holding out on mentioning it this entire time. I think I might just end up typing it up as a separate post.
They should try
because it's massive, and it's nothing that it's something I've never seen even hinted at by anyone else on the subreddit. I think it's just going to be completely out of left wing.
We might have different ideas for this theory then, because Sana's talking about...
Oh, I'm sure we do, because I don't think anyone's even considered this as a possibility before.
Sana's talking about how they snuffed out new technology, I think opened the door for answering a lot of questions we have.
Oh, absolutely it did. It answered the weekly hot air balloon thread. It answered the weekly why haven't they just gotten more technology thread. It answered so much crap that...
Specifically, though, some of the more popular theories I'm thinking about are the RBA village motivation and Grisha. Because, I'll start with the theory crafting here now.
Okay.
Grisha was a doctor, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that Grisha was working on something in his basement that counted as a new technology, and somebody in the military police got wind of him doing it and came to snuff him out.
But then they would have destroyed the basement as well.
But wait a minute.
And he found out about this.
But wait a minute.
He found out about this happening, and he left before the military police got there.
But then they'd still go back and destroy the stuff in the basement.
How? It would be gone.
The military police would not let that stand. They would destroy that.
If he took it with him, he might.
No. Then they would have gone to the basement just to make sure.
But wait a minute. By that point, the basement would have been destroyed because Maria fell. So...
Not even...
They know the Survey Corps is going to be going back to try and reclaim Maria. That will be discovered at some point. They would not have let that go.
I hate the theory where the stuff is taken, like Grisha takes it out of the basement, because if that's to be true, then when
why would he tell him to go back to the basement?
Yeah, Aaron's going to go to the basement, nothing's going to be there.
It's just Grisha is going to be there from the grave with the massive troll.
Come on, wait. I thought that the basement was off limits. Nobody's been there since the day that the bulb was breached.
Since before the day.
Yeah, but it's like As soon as Aaron's house basically fell apart, no one went to the basement. No one has ever been...
The thing is, we don't even know if the basement's intact because there's a massive fucking boulder on it.
So it's probably
I'm gonna say...
intact. So my idea was basically just to say that the MPs put pressure on Grisha and he wanted to escape from it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
but he left the stuff in the basement.
But I still like the... Well, yeah, that's another thing. They would have... It's implied that the scene where Aaron gets injected by his father is a couple weeks after the fall of Walmaria.
Mm-hmm.
And also that Aaron had been with his father for some time, given his statement, "You've been acting crazy ever since Mom died." Yeah. So, I think the MPs would have caught up to him way before that and snuffed him out without him having the opportunity to spend time with Aaron and stab him with a needle.
The other part of the theory I had for that
and wipe his memory, which you absolutely hate, even though it's already happened since episode 1.
The other part of the theory that I was going to push was that Grisha left and he went to the RBA community to support them.
Oh.
Because my theory for the RBA village was that they are a group of people who were pursued and chased by the military police, and they decided that they had to leave humanity to escape the pressures of...
It's a village of shifters.
Yeah, like they had to be chased out because they were intent on discovering new technologies, and they were intent on discovering things about the world, and they couldn't do that inside the walls, so they had to leave. And maybe they had people killed along the way or whatever, and they're working on new technologies outside the walls to try and basically do the same thing the Survey Corps is doing right now, to try and fix this notion that technology shouldn't be produced.
So instead they come back and smash the walls? I can't agree with you on this, Stiller. I think RBA's village has been an entirely separate entity this entire time, and if they were trying to discover technologies to defeat the Titans, they would not go back and kill the exact people they're trying to save.
To explain that, because that was a hard thing to try and put into this theory about why Walmaria got attacked. I had a couple different theories on that. The one that I had was that RBA's intention, like the village intention, was for Reiner, Berthold, and Annie to go to humanity.
I'm not even sure Annie was with Reiner and Berthold.
And just gather information. I think they told them to not interact with anybody, and they were just there to gather information. And I think Berthold couldn't handle the pressure of how important this was for their people. Like, he broke down, and that's why he got
broke
upset.
down, and then he broke down?
Wait a minute.
He broke down, and then he broke people.
No, that doesn't explain why Reiner then immediately bust in and broke in the second wall. Purposefully.
And then they continued to smash walls.
He took a stance and then ran straight at
Maybe Reiner agreed with him. And went in after him.
Still, another point I've been wanting to bring up is, are we positive that Annie was with Reiner and Berthold the entire time?
I'm absolutely positive of that. Yes.
I'm not quite sure, because as Mikasa noted, they were never very close. She was not shown together with them in either of the flashbacks we've seen, be it the one that we saw with Annie, the one that we saw with Beric being eaten, or even the anime-only one where Reiner, Berthold, and Annie are all in trust. Reiner and Berthold were getting food separately from Annie.
But you can't deny
Mikasa's not a trustworthy source of that information.
You're kind of biased on that.
No, not only that, though. Not only that, Zach, but how can you explain then how when Reiner got caught in Annie's fist when she was a Titan,
yes,
and then
I agree that they were working together, but I'm not sure that they originally were.
So they weren't working together, but they were working together.
Okay.
Not originally. They don't come from the same place, but somehow they found out about each other and they worked together.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we should move into questions, see if anybody has something that we really need to tackle, because we're running out of time.
Well, Armin?
Yeah, everybody's like, what do you do?
Unmaker? Hot air balloons?
Let's see your...
Alright, let me...
Okay, here's one. What's the deal with Titans and pain? Sometimes they seem to visibly recoil, like when Hanji is torturing Sani and Bean, and when Levi tosses blades into some poor Titan's eyes. Even Connie just ramming his knee into a Titan's head was enough to get it to stop and rub its head for a second. Other times they just shrug off getting their faces blown off by cannon fire and shit.
Who asked that question?
Reddit King.
Let's give shout-outs to the people who asked these questions, too, because I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Okay, so Titans in pain.
I think that they each have separate pain tolerances, because your example of Sani and Bean is my main counter-argument with that. Hanji noted that I think it was Sani, he didn't respond at all to being stabbed directly in the heart and have the blade twisted, whereas Bean was stabbed in the eye and he was crying out. I think it's unique to every Titan how much they are affected by pain.
You know what I think that has to do with? I think that has to do with how much of the human in them is fused with the Titan at the time. The more they are fused with their Titan body, in other words, the less human essence there is in the Titan, the less pain that they react to or feel. I don't know if that depends on how long they've been walking around. It could be that they actually...
No, because Ymir was able to go back after 60 years without getting fully absorbed.
Yeah. So it probably deterioration probably might not be a factor. It might have everything to do with how they became a Titan in the first place, or like who did it, or what did it, or just the personality of the person. Who knows? But that's definitely my answer for that. Is that it's dependent on each Titan pain tolerance, and that has to do with probably with how their human essence is fused with the Titan body. So that's a good one. Let's just go ahead and group everyone's questions about Armin into one question. What the heck about Armin?
I think we already covered Armin.
We already covered him. We decided that his plan was shady, to say the least.
Yeah.
Were there any questions that asked about different aspects of that? Like, if they asked about different things about how Armin presented himself?
I don't think so.
Someone said that this might...
Well, right here. Do you think it's pretty much guaranteed that he's going to be someone like Erwin?
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one. Yeah, he's Erwin 2.0. He's even got the hair.
By Haruma49.
Yeah. Someone said that this might lead up to Armin actually torturing Annie. That was an interesting line of thought.
I highly doubt that. That was just a move to piss Berthold off. Kind of like, as Clever Username says, she asks why we hate Connie. I just want to say, we don't actually hate Connie. We were just screwing with Scott.
We love Connie. All of us. We're huge Connie fans.
We don't love
every
Connie.
single
that.
Don't let them fool you guys. Don't let them fool you. They all have Connie posters. Every one of them.
No, we don't.
No,
but I would say no to that question also. That's not going to happen.
I really like Get in the Robots question. Get in the Robot. You post a lot. You have a lot to say. He says...
Get in the Robot's my best friend. I love that guy. You're awesome.
You're just saying that because he sent you an essay about it.
I love that guy. That was actually Attack on Waifu, who I was talking about earlier.
Oh, really? I could have sworn it was Get in the Robot.
Those guys are radical.
So, do you think that Erwin is wrong in his assumption that Annie has the coordinate/shout ability that Eren does?
I wrote notes on that. Let me go find them.
I have my own notes on that. Yes. Well, not notes.
I don't have notes. I have my memory, and my memory says I don't think she has the ability. I think that if she had the ability, that would put a lot of theories away that have already been established in pretty concrete. Like, for example, when he says, like, oh no,
that's the
coordinate
person.
Has been in the Aaron's the worst person to have it. It makes it seem as if the coordinate is special, as if like they've been seeking out the coordinate.
They have.
And exactly. And if they have been, well, that's the point. If they have been, then why would Annie just randomly have it if she's on their side and then be like,
Annie wasn't with them from the beginning.
No, but I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that.
I think I agree. The coordinate powers. I think there might be certain levels to the coordinate power.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Like, Annie might have something of it, but not quite the whole deal, and Eren has more.
Because what we know about Annie is that she definitely led all those Titans to destroy the right flank of the Survey Corps when they were on the expedition. But, as we know from Trust, Titans will prioritize eating shifters over eating humans.
That's still a theory.
What? Yeah, that seems like still a theory to me, man.
Well, nah.
Okay.
None of them were trying to eat Annie, though. Not a single one. We didn't see a single one trying to eat Annie. They were all...
Until she called them.
Until she calls for them, yes. But my thing is that she wouldn't have been able to successfully lead a freaking army of Titans without some of them trying to eat her. Unless she had some kind of special power, be it the coordinate or not. She was able to coordinate them in some way. Okay, wrong word to use.
I did like bringing up that they already have the coordinate in Annie if she has this ability, and that why would they want to pursue Eren if she already has the coordinate?
The thing is, we still don't know much about the coordinate.
The big point of evidence I had against this was that in the expedition, Eren did not have the type of reaction to Annie's shout that Reiner, Berthold, and Ymir did when Eren used his. They didn't have the same type of reaction.
Good point.
Therefore, at least her coordinate is not the same as maybe even she doesn't have it, which I would like to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely separate levels to it because there's the kind where there's just a primal scream that brings Titans in to kill you that Reiner also used. I'm not sure if he quite used it in his battle against Eren to get Bertholdt to 60-meter body press, but perhaps the coordinate is not controlling the Titans like we thought. Perhaps it was telling the Titans what to do. Perhaps it was literally controlling the Titans because when Eren swung his arm, the Titan that killed the Smiling Titan also swung his arm. So maybe it was literally in the mind of the Titan controlling their every action.
I also noticed Erwin didn't say it was the same thing. He said it was similar.
He said the
Similar.
shout, not the coordinate.
Yeah.
Similar, not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I also actually pulled this into the theory that I was creating, where they wanted to capture Eren because they wanted to use him against the MPs and the government. Like having the Survey Corps or having humanity even as a whole have Eren gives them the ability to fight off shifter attacks if they're using Annie to use the coordinate against them.
Well, they were trying to bring Eren back to their village, not to...
Right, so if they bring Eren back to their village, that takes away the biggest weapon that humanity has against them.
So that might be their real intention.
I still want to see the village so badly because they mentioned they have a general, which means that there is a shifter more powerful than Reiner or even Bertholdt.
Well,
I believe they're going to be super technology people.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
Their village is going to be full of technology people, I believe.
that would be cool.
I just want to see like a god titan.
Man.
I don't know.
Well, we already saw one when he ate Eren, but whatever.
When you say or when they call someone general, I don't automatically assume stronger, such as Pixis. He's higher up, but I wouldn't associate Pixis with strength. Not like brute strength, at least.
Yes, but you have to claw your way up for that. Pixis was a soldier.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Which I
don't,
also want
don't
to bring
assume
in.
that.
Pixis said that if he was going to support the revolution, he would step down and become the lowest recruit in the Survey Corps. And that just makes me giggle, just because the imagery of Pixis without his sash or any of his special beads, just flying around taking orders from everyone.
In a hoodie,
just this old man in a Survey Corps uniform. It's hilarious to me.
And he said that if it went wrong, he would totally be the first to kill Erwin. I just like, Pixis, you're just so awesome.
Pixis?
Send him to the gallows if I don't like your plan.
So did we talk about Armin's statement of were they ever really good or
we're not good people anymore? I wanted to talk about that.
We talked about that.
But I talked about how that was my favorite moment, but
I never got to bring up my point that he's kind of contradicting his own statements there, because he says we're not good people anymore, but then he has that big soliloquy against Annie about
Yep. That's where I was going.
Everyone's a good person to a specific person.
Wait.
So there might be the oppressed civilians who view Armin as a savior, but Armin feels like he's a bad person.
Wait a minute.
This ties into my thing about him being grounded by making a mistake in this chapter.
Armin, you're
because
grounded.
I totally agree with Zach on this.
Go to your room.
Okay.
But Mom, my room's under a boulder.
I totally agree with that talking about how Armin's contradicting what he told Annie. I don't know if that means he's regressing, but
he might have always just been bullshitting with Annie to get her to go with him.
That could be. That's certainly possible. He could do that. But I don't know. If he is regressing, I would consider that a pretty interesting bit of character development. I kind of would like to see that.
Soon we'll have Armin with an IQ score of 0.
Oh, come on, wait. He could be. Don't call it regressing as much as just he's changing.
Yeah.
He's changing.
Yeah, that's probably more fair.
He's changing, and he's starting to see himself as someone who just needs to have the right answer at the right time, not the right answer for everything. And I think that's scaring him, learning how to be a master tactician, which, doesn't always encompass the entire, sometimes it has the entire picture. Sometimes it has to just be about the moment or about the circumstances. And you can't always be sure that you're right.
It would be good to see Armin go through that development.
And know how when we were first introduced to him, he was so set on saying, I'm right. What you're doing is proving that I'm right. So there. That's where I get my confidence. That's where I get my confidence. I can always be sure that I'm right.
I want to see him be wrong because I want to see him develop more.
Armin seems like he's at the development process where he's kind of a couple steps behind where Erwin is, because I feel like Erwin's at the point where he understands the ends justify the means in his mind, but Armin, he's at the point where he's like, wow, these means to get to the end, they're really bad.
Yeah.
Like, we're torturing people, we're killing people, and he's having a moral complication within himself regarding, man, what we're doing is wrong. But he just has
maybe
to...
he's just having a Reiner personality split, because guess what? Armin's a shifter.
Okay,
Armin's
it's
a
fucking
shifter.
crazy.
Doubt it.
Just
Alright.
turns into a guy with a giant
We're
brain.
getting to the end of the hour here, so do you guys want to say anything before I wrap it up and stop recording?
I had another point to talk about with when
Anyone
they were
other than Stiller?
talking about the parade scene. They talked about how under the most extreme circumstances there were no riots, going back to talking about the MP and their suppression and their oppression and this control business.
Yeah.
I drew the parallel that it's sort of similar to what people are talking about in America right now, considering privacy issues and the abuse of the upper class.
Okay.
I think we need to stay out of that political can of worms.
No, I feel like...
I thought it was an interesting parallel. I thought, that could be. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I see a parallel there.
I would like to have this podcast not taken down by the NSA for criticism of the government.
No,
so...
but I actually
Yeah, the
wrote a
government is
story
really
for-
interested in what we have to say, y'all. We're so
Okay.
we're such a threat.
Obama is a big Attack on Titan fan, okay?
No,
Thanks,
no.
Obama.
Okay, let me reel this in a little bit away from the political talk, because
Yeah.
in my social stratification class I'm taking in college right now,
Oh, look at you.
there's actually a movie, I forget the title of it, but it's about electric cars. And what they did, like electric cars and the alternative fuel, that's been around, that concept, for a long, long time, many decades ago. And what the companies did that were all oil, subsidiaries and such, they actually suppressed and made it illegal. Yep. And they were actually making laws and regulations to stop the information and the studying of that. So now,
yeah, I heard something similar to that.
I've actually heard that exact story. That's a good pull.
I'm gonna look up the I think it was a documentary on it, but it talked about it more in detail, and it's kind of like the same here. Like, the companies or whoever's in power wants to stay in power, whether you're a monarchy in a kingdom or whether you're the basically monopoly on corporations.
Yeah.
You want to hold your power by putting down other people.
Yeah.
And it's the same on both parallels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that
was beautiful,
for instance, Gillette acquired the patent for razors that would be practically unbreakable, and they were like for shaving, I mean, and they bought it specifically so they wouldn't take a hit to their disposable razor section of their corporation. And then, additionally, this is something I've been pissed about for a while. Back in the 1990s, the United States government paid Comcast, I think it was a couple $1 billion, to provide the entire nation with fiber optic internet within like 10 years or something. And Comcast just took the money and ran.
Mm-hmm.
They set up a few miles of fiber optic in Pennsylvania and called it good.
You see why this was a good parallel to draw now? Because this is a relevant, a modern topic. Damn me for making good notes.
Yeah,
because
damn me for actually doing the homework.
Yeah,
guys,
we are trying to end this, Stiller.
It's just, this is the silliest thing is that, yeah, we're advancing technologically as far as phones, sort of. It's just like, we have like there's Apple, and then there's whatever the other one is.
Google, there's Microsoft, there's...
So I actually still had one other point. I had one last point to get to, which was, because we had talked about Annie, was talking about when we think she might come back, because that was one of the questions that was asked on the thread.
I specifically
is she going to come back and be on someone's side in this conflict? Is this a good time for her to return?
Oh,
I think they still don't have any way to smash her crystal.
I know she should come back. She should come back to basically...
She should?
Yes.
To teach Eren
she should come
how
back
to utilize his inner Viagra, but...
Okay, can you let me finish? She should come back to be a part of this revolution, and she should be the deciding factor on who wins. And it should be completely out of nowhere, because it needs to up the tension. It needs to give either side a chance to think, wait a minute, if I can get her, I can win, and then... So who's going to get Annie first? And so that should be a big, big thing.
My theory about
Stiller
the RBA village being technologically based says that she's going to side with the Survey Corps because she wants to get rid of the notion from the military police that people should be controlled and suppressed by trying to eliminate the use of technology and the elimination of new ideas.
That assumes that she's a good person.
Yeah,
Not to mention,
I want to play Stiller here for a bit and say that Annie doesn't seem like she'd side with either of the current factions to me. I think she'd just try to get the hell out of there.
Same here. I think that she's totally in it for herself. She said so in the anime and maybe in the manga but she definitely
she never said that.
Stiller.
She said, "I'm only in this for myself. I only want to live."
What?
She totally said that. That's when they
I think she did.
Why are you joining the military?
She did not.
She said, "I've only ever just wanted to live and not die."
No, that's not what she said.
Totally said.
She was making a point about how human nature is natural.
All right, Stiller,
to want to be self-preserving.
Stiller, give me a chapter number for this statement.
What was it? 33? 34?
All right.
Let
me find that volume.
No,
it was in the Marlowe scene.
Can I get my 2 cents?
We'll get back to it. Okay, guys, we're gonna get back to you on this.
We'll see you all next time.
All right.
Not again.
What?
Really? I can't get my point in?
Yes.
No, we have to stop here.
Just like Connie. Shut up.